All right, today's video is a pretty short one. This is video 1.2. We're going to be learning about the difference between speed and velocity. So, it's a pretty simple difference, to be honest. Speed, you guys all know what speed is. It's how fast you're going. Okay? We are going to abbreviate speed with a lowercase letter s to indicate speed. All right, velocity is almost the exact same thing. It tells you the speed, it tells you how fast you're going, but also includes the direction that you're going. Okay? The symbol we're going to use for velocity would be a V. All right, so for example, suppose we're driving down the street and I say to you, hey, what's your speed? You might say, oh, we're going 25 miles an hour. So in that case, your speed is 25 miles per hour. All right, now, if instead we were driving along and I said, hey, what's your velocity? You'd have to tell me how fast you're going. So you'd look at your speedometer and go, oh, we're going 25 miles an hour. But to properly tell me your velocity, you'd also have to include the direction. So you might say the velocity is 25 miles an hour west, or whatever your velocity is. Okay, now, as we learned in the last video, you can't type west into your calculator. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the same conventions we used when we talked about displacement, which is this. Anytime you have something in the x direction, this way is positive, this way is negative, and anything in the y direction, up is positive, down is negative. So in this case, because west is over here on my compass, it's going to point in a negative direction. So I would actually write this velocity as being negative 25 miles per hour. And a lot of people get frustrated with this because they go, what does it mean to have a negative velocity? And again, all that negative sign is telling us is the direction. It's telling us that the object is going in a negative direction, in this case, west. All right? So notice that because the velocity includes direction, you can have a scenario where you've got objects that have the same speed but different velocities. And here's an example here. It says if Al is driving north at 45 miles an hour and Bob is driving south at 45 miles an hour, they have the same speed but different velocities. Check it out. For Al, he's driving north at 45 miles an hour. So Al's speed is 45 miles per hour. And Bob, meanwhile, is driving south at 45 miles an hour. So his speed is also 45 miles per hour. Okay, notice it doesn't include direction, right? They're both going 45 miles an hour. Different directions, but they're both going 45 miles an hour. All right, now, velocity is going to be different. The velocity for Al is going to be positive 45 miles an hour because he's going in a positive direction, in this case, north. Meanwhile, Bob is going south, which is a negative direction. So his velocity is negative 45 miles per hour. Okay, so they both have the same speed, but different velocities. Okay, one other thing I should comment on here real quick is the unit choice that I've used here. Miles per hour. You can write miles per hour two different ways. To be honest, this is the preferable way to write it, miles per hour. However, on street signs all over the country, you'll see MPH, meaning miles per hour. MPH is fine. My only concern with it is, technically speaking, M is meters. So this really is meters per hour. But it's sort of understood that in America, MPH means miles per hour. So I'll accept either this or this, the miles per hour, you know, on a test or a quiz or something. Okay, so that is that. Notice that because of this difference between speed and velocity, because the velocity includes direction, but speed doesn't, there are going to be two ways to change your speed, but three ways to change your velocity. All right? The two ways to change your speed are, imagine being in a car. What are the two ways you can change your speed? You can either speed up or slow down, right? I don't think there's any way you can change your speed other than speeding up or slowing down. Every once in a while, somebody will say, well, what about stopping? Well, remember, stopping is an example of slowing down, right? You're not going to slow down, or I'm sorry, you're not going to stop unless you slow down, and eventually you'll stop, right? Okay, so those are the two ways to change your speed. You can speed up or slow down. There are, however, 3 ways to change your velocity, okay? Because velocity includes speed and direction. So the 3 ways to change your velocity are speed up, slow down, or turn. All right, the wild thing, the thing that people have a tough time with is this, that if you've got a car driving at, say, a velocity of, whatever, 25 miles per hour north, and then it gradually turns so that now it's going 25 miles per hour, say, east, that's a change in velocity, even though we didn't speed up or slow down at all, because the direction is changing. I was originally going this way at 25 miles an hour, and then I turned to go that way at 25 miles an hour. And because this velocity arrow, called a vector, points in a different direction than this velocity arrow, they're different velocities. Okay, the velocity includes direction. All right, 2 ways to change your speed: speed up, slow down. 3 ways to change your velocity: speed up, slow down, or turn. I think I misspoke, but what it says on the screen is correct. Okay, moving on. This last thing is kind of a technicality here, but it's something you need to be aware of, which is this. Usually when you use the terms either speed or velocity, you're talking about what's called instantaneous speed. And when you talk about V, you're talking about what's called instantaneous velocity. And those refer to your speed or your velocity at one exact moment in time. Okay? In other words, if you're driving along and we look at the speedometer and the speedometer says 25 miles an hour, that's how fast you're going right at that moment, right at that instant in time. Okay? And if you're going 25 miles an hour west, then that's your velocity at that one moment in time. All right? In the next video, we're going to talk about average speed and average velocity, which are not the same thing. Okay? All right, I think the last thing we need to do is talk about units, which must be in the next video. So we'll worry about that then. All right, cool. So next video will be about average velocity.